Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Turn the camera around. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining me today. What's up? There's this really weird stuff falling from the sky outside. I think they call it rain, which is amazing. We haven't had rain in California in a long time. Hi, everybody. Welcome, 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 welcome. Colleen Patrick-Goudreau from joyfulvegan.com, and I'm excited to talk about this topic. And welcome, everybody. Where are you from? Hello. Where are you from? And let me know if you are new here. Boston is flash flood warning right now. Oh, Chrissy, that's terrible. And we need some rain. It's ridiculous. Hi, Amber. Well, for those of you who know, I did a podcast called Pasturbation. What did I call it? It was called... what was it actually called? Hello, new from Atlanta, from Finland, Atlanta. I'm going to see you guys in Atlanta soon. Colorado, first time watching on Periscope. Hello from Sweden, Saskatchewan, Canada. Hi, Nicole. From North Carolina, North Dakota, Texas. How awesome is that? I love it. Love it. From Auckland, New Zealand. New Zealand is on my list. I can't wait to get there. Australia's on my list. Lisbon is on my list. JV, you're in South Carolina. I didn't know that. I'm in South Korea. I just saw South Carolina come in from Kells. Okay, wonderful. Well, welcome everybody, and hello from New Hampshire. And your mom is doing the 30-day vegan challenge, Sunny. That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. Well, thanks for joining us, and I want to just jump right into the topic. A, for the rebroadcast viewers, and B, because I need to eat lunch because I'm hungry. I've been working on the new podcast episode, which is on animals in film, and it's going to be a pretty intense one. It's been intense just writing it. So I am so thrilled you're all here again. My name is Colleen Patrick-Goudreau, and I'm from, my website is joyfulvegan.com. And I have been doing this work for almost over 2 decades. I've been an animal advocate, and my work is meant to guide people to manifest their values of compassion and wellness in their everyday lives. And I do this through cookbooks. I travel and speak through books, not just cookbooks, and through the 30-day vegan challenge, through my podcast called Food for Thought, which is almost celebrating its 10-year anniversary, which is pretty exciting. And so today I want to talk about a topic just to kind of, give some people an idea of some some history here. And I used this title. I did it for the podcast I did on the Paleo diet. And I call it the Pasturbation diet. That's what the Food for Thought episode was. And what I mean by that is I don't know if I coined the term, possibly, but I am the one who uses the term pasturbation to refer to this kind of obsessive romanticizing of the past, right? I also came up with pastolatry, like idolatry. So like, idolizing and idealizing the past. And so pasturbation just works for me because it's something we do all the time, and all of us do it. All of us do it. So someone just said, sorry, I'm asking ma'am, I got upset by some paleo scope today. Well, yeah, I mean, there's lots of paleo people out there because they're pasturbating. All of the paleo people are pasturbating. And if you are paleo and you're joining us, thanks for joining us. And I think the truth is we all pasturbate in terms of romanticizing the past. I think my camera is slowly dropping here. And we romanticize the past. We do it in a number of different ways, and we also use language. We use words that, that kind of are associated with this romanticizing of the past. We use words like ancestral and history and primitive and primal and, Paleolithic is one of them. Evolution, traditional, tradition. And it's just some of these words that I think we associate with the past, and we romanticize it to the degree that that I think it's a little silly. And so the paleo diet, I talk about it in that context because there is absolutely no way to know how we ate during the Paleolithic period, which spanned millions and millions of years. And it's broken up into the different segments of the upper Paleolithic and the lower Paleolithic, and there's not enough evidence to know exactly how we were eating. And it's just a little bit of silliness. And so, so that's the context in which I coined this term pasturbation. But one of the things that happens is that we really tend to value the past so much that we can really lose perspective. Because on one hand, I think we value ourselves as being progressive people, right? We're innovative, we're resourceful, we're progressive, we value progress. And yet on the other hand, we romanticize the past. And I see that a lot when it comes to veganism. I see people who say that, vegans are denying our past. There's a quote from Michael Pollan, I can't remember it, but it's something about denying our ancestral heritage. There's a good TEDx on finding paleo period and how it was more plant-based. Yeah, that's cool. I'll look for that on TEDx. I love TEDx. I love TED Talks. And so one of the things that happens is people accuse vegans as kind of turning our back on the past, that we don't value the past. And so the way that gets translated often, sorry, my camera keeps slipping. The way that often gets translated is when we talk about tradition, people will say, well, vegans just turn their back on tradition, their evolutionary heritage, they don't care about tradition. And I think it's really a false dichotomy. Of course, we can reflect our values. We don't have to compromise our values, and we don't have to compromise our taste buds, and we don't have to compromise culture or tradition by being vegan. And so that's really what I talk about, is that of course you can do both. We can value the past, we can value tradition, we can value culture, and do it in a way that also values our ethics. And so that's the idea here. So if you're just joining us, welcome. And I'm glad you're here. My name's Colleen Patrick-Goudreau from joyfulvegan.com. Hi from Montreal. And if you like what you hear, of course, you can tap on the screen and send all those beautiful hearts. Some of the people, I see some people have like 2,500 hearts in a broadcast. I don't know how you do it that quickly. And of course you can share this broadcast right now with your people by clicking on the little person there on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. You can even share a screenshot, which is pretty amazing. So you can take a screenshot right now of this broadcast and you can share it. So you can swipe to the right. I think is it right to left, or just swipe right to left or left to right, and or up on your Android. You bought 3 of my books today. That's fantastic. That's wonderful. It's not like food is the only thing passed down from generation to generation, of course. So that's one thing, but we can do both, right? I mean, we can do both. We can celebrate the past without it becoming so silly that we lose perspective. Because at what point is it progress, and at what point is it like, no, that's still like something we have to honor, we can't get better than that? It's silly. So one of the things I say about that is I'd rather be progressive than regressive. I think a lot of people, a lot of foodies who talk in terms of the tradition and this paleo concept and going back to the way we did things, 500 years ago, I think there's a real act of regression there. Again, that doesn't mean we can't celebrate parts of the past. We do that anyway. We cherry pick from the past all the time. All the time we do. Obviously, there are things from the past we don't want to participate in anymore and we don't want to do anymore. So we don't do those things because those have been considered like passé or cruel or inappropriate, right? Or they're just not part of our culture anymore, right? Slavery. I mean, we can't use tradition as an excuse for cruelty. So on the one hand, so we cherry pick all the time. And so this isn't something that's so foreign to what we already do. All animals and food is different from the Paleolithic time period. Anyway, of course. But this episode is not on the paleo diet because I really don't have much more to say about it than it's a diet, and it's just like a lot of other fad diets out there. It will go away one day. Unfortunately, millions of animals will have been killed. Probably billions of animals will have been killed and suffered and tortured in the meantime to satisfy some people's desire to perpetuate this fad. So it will go away. But what I wanted to talk about was the fact that we can celebrate tradition, and we can also look toward the past, and we can also, again, adhere to our own values. And when we talk about that, I mean, when we look at milks, plant-based milks. Now, I want to be really clear about how I feel about plant-based milks and how I feel about animal-based milks. The only beverage, if you will, or liquid that we have a physiological need for, like we die without it, is what? What's the only beverage we would die without? What's the only beverage? Water. That's right, water. Water is the only thing we have a physiological need for. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for that contribution. Exactly. So water is the only beverage we actually need to consume, or we'll die without it. Agua, exactly. Thanks, Dee. So even when it comes to plant-based milks, the way I feel about plant-based milks is that they're awesome. They have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, a couple of thousands of years in the case of soy milk. But they also are there, to provide creaminess and texture and, of course, nutrition, because they're plant-based, and a thickness or the moisture we need in baking or what have you. But it's not even like we need plant milks, right? So when people go like, oh, I'm going to stop drinking cow's milk, can I drink plant-based milk? You can drink plant-based milk. Of course you can. You have no physiological need for animal's milk, and it's time to wean. If you're an adult consuming animal's milk and you're not consuming your own human milk in adulthood, then don't consume another adult's milk in adulthood, okay? So it doesn't make any sense. So of course, plant-based milks are wonderful. I love them. And I have some favorites. Someone just said that they're obsessed with oat milk right now. Oat milk is really fantastic. Oat milk is really, really rich and creamy, and I love it for that reason. It's really thick. That's right. No more baby food. If you're not eating baby food, you should stop consuming mammalian milk, period. That's just the way it is. So yeah, oat milk is really fantastic. But as far as the older ones, the oldest plant milk is soy milk, and it's believed to have been invented, if you will, in in China in the Han Dynasty around 164 BC, and it's been around for a long time. First, it was in China, and then it went over to Japan and became very popular in Japan. Very sadly, because of the strength of the marketing arm of the American dairy industry, and especially our relationship with Japan after World War II, it is so incredibly sad that the consumption of animal-based milk, particularly cow's milk, exceeds the consumption of of soy milk in Japan. It's very sad, because now what we're seeing are the same problems in young people and in older people in Japan as we have in Western nations and developed nations, in industrialized nations like the US. And so there is no need to consume animal's milk. And sadly, for a culture that certainly was not part of their culture. So talk about rejecting tradition. I mean, they're rejecting tradition in a big way by rejecting their soy milk, and they're consuming animal's milk, much to the detriment of their own health, and of course the detriment of, of all of it, the environment, because that's what we're part of, and the animals who are part of it, and the animals who suffer for it. So, but soy milk goes back almost 2,000 years, or over 2,000 years, and of course there's the soy fear, right? As if there's nothing to fear from animal-based milk. So soy milk goes back a long way. About 2,000 years. So that's traditional. I mean, is 2,000 years not traditional, but 10,000 is? Like, where do we draw the line? Like, 500 seems like that would be traditional. So isn't 2,000 traditional? So we're talking about 2,000 years. I think it's very traditional to consume soy milk. Almond milk came a little later on, but it's also been consumed by different cultures for many, many, many years, for almost probably about 1,000 years, at least 600 years, if not more. And it was prized for its high protein content. It was drunk a lot in ancient Rome. It was prized for its high protein content, and also because it kept better than animal milk, because of course animal milk goes bad. That's one of the things that happens. I mean, eventually, almond milk would go rancid as well, but it spoils a lot quicker when you're talking about the fluid of an animal. So, and if you don't have preservatives, which they didn't have then, the milk spoiled, and so they prized almond milk for that reason. And so almond milk goes back a long, long way. Like, that seems traditional to me. 500,000 years. Like that seems for 2,000 years. I mean, again, where do we draw the line where like that's not traditional anymore? So almond milk, soy milk, those are traditional milks. Animal eaters technically consume massive amounts of soy through animals and their feed. Of course, well, that's absolutely a consideration that a lot of people don't think about, is that if you're concerned about soy, you're consuming a lot of soy through the animal products you're consuming. So does that make sense, everybody? I'll talk about a couple more milks. My favorite's almond. I love soy too. We have soy as well. Pistachio nut milk is wonderful. There's sunflower seed. I mean, you know, you've got milks pretty much from legumes like peanuts, for instance. There's peanut milk. You've got it from seeds like coconut and sunflower. You've got it from grains like rice, and you've got it from what am I missing? Beans. I said beans, legumes from soy. Pumpkin seed. I haven't had pumpkin seed. Milk. That sounds divine. Never tried peanut milk. Peanut milk is very good. Now, one of the things about a milk like hemp milk is that a lot of people aren't allergic to hemp seeds, and so it's kind of allergen free. It tends to be. I think same with rice milk. And there are a lot of, well, I guess, I mean, that could be a gluten allergy thing too. But hemp is your favorite. I have to say, Rochelle, hemp is not my favorite. I tried it, but I didn't really love it. I found it a little grainy. I didn't love hemp milk, but people love hemp milk. It has a lot more of the essential fatty acids. I guess you'd have to be careful of lectins. What about lectins? I don't obsess over lectins. Lectins are present in most plant foods, and lectins are harmless. They're a phytochemical, and lectins are really only a concern in the sense that they're really in high amounts in uncooked grains and uncooked beans, but I'm not really a fan of uncooked beans, so I'm not concerned about lectins. So no, I don't think we have to obsess over single phytonutrients. The phytonutrients are in all plant foods. That's why they're called phytonutrients, plant nutrients, and they're helpful and healthful for a number of reasons, and lectins is one of those. But I would say, yeah, avoid eating uncooked grains and beans. That would be my advice. If that's your takeaway from today's broadcast, then awesome. Cook your grains and cook your beans, okay? So another one that I love, I'm not sure how to prepare nut or bean milks. Nut milks are really very easy. Nut milks are, or seed milks, you would do the same thing. I do about a ratio of 1 to 1.5 cups of almonds. In the case of almond milk, I'll use that as my example, with about 4 cups of water. And you put them in a high-powered blender, and you blend it all up, so you've got this nice liquid. And then you strain it by using a nut milk bag or a cheesecloth. You can use either one. A nut milk bag is really easy because it's a bag. And you would just put all of it in there, the pulp and everything, and you squeeze out all of the milk and you're left with all of the pulp. So squeeze out as much as you can. And then with the milk that's left, you can sweeten it. You can do whatever you want to it, and it will stay in the refrigerator for a few days. I mean, it does, it's going to start breaking down, but you can use the pulp for making muffins. A friend of mine just got his MD, didn't even know what micronutrients or phytonutrients are. Well, medical doctors are not trained in nutrition, so I'm not surprised. The Milk Scope, just arriving. Well, welcome to the Milk Scope. So I'm not surprised. Medical doctors are not trained in nutrition, and hopefully he's good at other things. Yeah, right. So it's not surprising at all, and that's okay. I mean, we all, I don't know what a medical doctor knows, right? But hopefully he'll be able to diagnose diseases well enough, and, or whatever he's doing, if he's in surgery or what have you, I bet he does that pretty well. I mean, the medical industry is pretty broad, and there are specialties, of course, unfortunately, because we have so many chronic diseases. But I'm sure he's good at what he does. So, but you know about phytonutrients, and now all of you know about phytonutrients. So does that make sense for the person who asked about the, how to make nut milk? And so you can do the same thing with nuts or seeds. Now, as far as making soy milk, I have never made soy milk. And my understanding is that it's kind of easier if you have a machine, a soy milk maker. But I know it doesn't have to be that way. Obviously, soy milk was made before machines existed. But you want to first boil the beans, and then you have to, you get the milk from the beans, and then you strain them, and then it's a little more complicated because first you have to cook the beans. So I think the soy milk maker will do like the cooking, the soaking, the cooking, and then the straining and the separation. So I think that's the case. I just harvested a lot of soybeans from my garden. Should make soy milk. I'm so jealous. You grow soybeans. That's so awesome. Where are you that you grow soybeans? Me says, who's very jealous. So coconut milk is another one that's really a favorite of mine. And I'm not talking about coconut milk that comes in a can, you know, that's used in like Thai and Vietnamese curries. I'm talking about what's now become a beverage. And this is one of the newer ones because progress, progress, not regress, right? So we can, again, celebrate the past and realize that milks like almond and soy are historical and traditional. Then we can look to these new milks that haven't been around that long, but commercially they're available. And you're so sweet. Thank you. Well, tell Periscope you think so. And so then coconut milk is really wonderful. And, you know, there's nutrients and different amounts of nutrients in all of these. But look, a lot of these are pretty much just water. You're going to get some fiber. You're going to get some protein. But a lot of these milks are just water. And I would say this is, you know, one of the things I would say is, again, you're going to have different fat content. But one of the benefits of plant milks that animal milk doesn't have is that they're free of saturated fat. They're free of dietary cholesterol. They're free of casein. They're free of lactose. And they're free of animal protein, all of which are harmful. So even though I wouldn't say plant milks are like the most nutritious thing on the planet, you'll be better off eating the soybeans and eating the almonds and eating the walnuts and eating the sunflower seeds and eating the pistachio nuts, etc. You're going to get the fiber. You're going to get all the nutrients, and you're going to get the good fats. But they're wonderful. And they're, like I said, they add creaminess, they add texture, they add moisture. And for someone who just asked me if I use milk, I didn't see, I wonder if you're fixing a typo, but that you asked me if I put milk in my tea. You know, I drink mostly green tea and I don't put any milk in my green tea. Once in a while when I have black tea, I will put milk in it. And I usually just put in what I have because I'm not a big tea drinker. I'm not a big black tea drinker. And so I'll usually put like just almond milk or whatever I have. Although I did do a scope on the best creamers out there, the plant-based creamers. So that's coconut milk. And then of course, that's different than coconut water. Coconut water is the liquid that comes from a young coconut, and you get coconut water in a lot of like Thai restaurants and Vietnamese restaurants. There's obviously it's tropical, so you'll get it in also in places like Hawaii, and it is so fantastic. It's not milk, it's water, and it's really sweet, and it's got a lot of electrolytes, and it's really delicious and good for you, and I love it. But that's different than coconut milk, so I just want to give the distinction between the different coconut beverages. Does that make sense? Does that sound good? And then finally, we've got what else? Well, rice milk. Rice milk was really popular at one time when I first became vegan. Rice milk was very popular. Use almond milk with green tea matcha. Delicious. That sounds fantastic. I love that. I love that. I love matcha. I could see that. I've had that, you know, in specialty kind of tea stores. I've had the matcha with almond milk. That's fantastic. You're making me want that right now. So rice milk was popular at one time. It's a lot thinner than the others. So when I talk about baking, like in the Joy of Vegan Baking, I do talk about using the thicker milks for baking. I like rice milk a lot. It's pretty sweet. I agree. And I like my milk sweetened. I do get sweetened milks. A lot of people get unsweetened. And of course, all of these milks that are sold commercially come like unsweetened, vanilla, plain, chocolate. I almost said almond. Almond comes in chocolate. And of course, those are wonderful. So all of them have different flavors. And you just finished a soy latte, Chrissy. That's wonderful. And so, but one thing that I love, one rice milk recipe that I love that I include in my Joy Vegan Baking is horchata. Now horchata it's been made a number of different ways in Spain and different Latin American countries. I'm most familiar with the horchata from Mexico, and horchata basically is rice milk, and I have a recipe for it in the Joy of Vegan Baking with cinnamon, and it's so fantastic. Now, a lot of Mexican restaurants have horchata, but unfortunately they add cow's milk, which is not traditional. That's not the traditional horchata. So I do recommend making your own horchata at home. Like I said, it requires rice, and it's really fantastic, and a little bit of sweetener, some sugar, and some cinnamon. So horchata is my favorite rice milk, but I don't really buy rice milk commercially anymore. I just prefer soy or almond or coconut. Those are the three that I tend to get. Although I need to get oat more because I love oat milk. If you've never tried it, try it. And then, of course, there's hazelnut milk. I said there was peanut milk. I said before. Yeah, try horchata. It's really fantastic. And there's also sunflower seed milk. So all really good stuff. And you don't have 800,000 male calves who are killed every year in the United States for cow's milk. Isn't that wonderful? And you don't have hundreds of thousands of dairy cows who are killed when they're no longer considered productive. You can milk a nut, and you can milk a legume, and you can milk a seed, and nobody's hurt in the process. And isn't that better? Just watched Got the Facts on Milk last week. Everyone should watch this film. Tammy, I think a friend of mine is in that film. Was a woman named Ann Wheat in that film? A friend of mine who's a huge anti-dairy proponent. She's like one of the main anti-dairy advocates I know. I think she was featured in that film. Her name's Ann Wheat. She was one of the founders of Millennium, or one of the main investors, I should say, of Millennium Restaurant in San Francisco. Yeah, I think she was in that. In the commercial milks, are artificial vitamins dangerous? Well, they're not artificial vitamins. And let me explain what this means. Hey, hi, I'll have lunch with you in a second. So what's happening with the non-dairy based milks? Oh, I have had Amazaki. That is really good. That's right. That's the rice milk as well from Japan. Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that, Amazaki. Vitamins. So vitamins in plant milks. So just to be clear, dairy milk is fortified with vitamins. Dairy-based milk is fortified during the production process of dairy-based milk. So it's not like dairy-based milk is all natural because it all comes from like an enamel and it's all natural and good for us. And then plant-based milks are artificial and there's vitamins and it's supplemented and fortified. They're both fortified. And so, like I said, the benefit of the fortified plant milks is that you're going to get some of the fortified vitamins, which is a good thing. So it just kind of adds to the number of vitamins you're getting that day. Isn't progress a wonderful thing, right? That's where progress is actually a good thing. But what you're not getting are all the harmful things like the animal-based saturated fat, the dietary cholesterol, the lactose, the casein, and the animal-based protein. So you're not getting all the bad stuff, but you're getting all the good stuff. And as I've talked about, don't forget with dairy-based milk, they fortify the feed of the animals to give them calcium. So how about skipping the middle cow and just getting our calcium from the plants? And of course, in the case of dairy-based milk, we're also getting calcium. Now, we're not absorbing more calcium through the plant milks than we are even through the dairy-based milks. They're both about 30 to 35% absorption in our own bodies, but go directly to the plants and you absorb 50 to 60% of the calcium from plants. So fortification isn't a bad thing in my opinion. It's like I said, it's one of those benefits of progress and civilization, and I think that's a good thing. So there's my answer for that. So, any other questions about milks from any of you? And if one was concerned, make your own. Exactly. If you're concerned and you don't want, fortified milk for some reason, and every different brand has different vitamins and different ratios of vitamins and fat and whatever they fortify it with. So take a look at the milks, and different brands have even different ranges within their brand. So take a look and see what you like. And if you just want to make your own, just make your own. Absolutely. You're making me want to make almond milk right now. I'm going to have to do that. Although I haven't been getting almonds from California because I'm a little concerned about the water content used in almonds, and I don't mean that as a scapegoat the way a lot of people are using not consuming almonds, but they're consuming all of the animal products, which of course are also coming from water intensive agriculture in California. But I heard a story about some farmers who are actually purposefully planting high water crops because they're yielding such high amounts right now. That was really concerned. I didn't see anything that anyone just wrote just now. So if you'd like to repeat it, please do. Almonds, lentils, and animals. Don't know what that is in reference to. But yeah, if you have any more questions, just let me know. And I'll answer them if I can. Any suggestion for option for babies supplementing breast milk? Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, as they're starting to wean, again, you don't have to just move them onto animals' milk. That's the whole point, is that we're not supposed to be consuming mammalian milk. But if you're supplementing breast milk, absolutely you can use plant-based milks. And I think depending on the age of the child, there are infant formulas out there. And I did a YouTube video on soy, and there is no evidence that the soy infant formulas are harmful for babies. So if you're, for some reason you're supplementing, or if you're supplementing, or for some reason you're not able to breastfeed, absolutely soy infant formulas out there have been found to be safe. So absolutely. Yeah, and then let them wean off of animal milk, your milk, eventually, and they'll move on to it just the way all adults, including cows, would move off of their mother's milk. Thank you so much, says Chrissy, for these periscopes. Even though digital, it really feels like a support system. I'm so glad. Thank you, Kels. I used soy formula when I quit nursing. Yeah, fantastic. I think that's great. I know a lot of friends who have used soy formula, and their children are wonderful and healthy and happy. And with any food, I will say this, and I have said it 1,000 times, and I will say it 1,000 more. Variety is always good. So whether you're drinking different plant milks or you're eating a variety of plant foods, which I hope you are, variety is key. So if you have the same thing all the time, every day, again and again and again and again and again and again, you could very well develop an allergy to that. That's what happens. So, to avoid developing an allergy to one particular food, don't have that one only. And this includes how you would feed your children. Include a variety of the different plant milks. So rotate them. So if you like soy, great, but include some almond. If you like almond and soy, include some oat, what have you, and rotate it. And being exposed to the different allergens is actually also really helpful. That's what they're finding, that one of the reasons for the increased allergy to like peanuts is because the kids aren't eating the peanuts anymore. So they're not developing just kind of a natural resistance to the allergens. So consuming them, but in a rotation and not just single-mindedly one thing, is very healthful and very helpful. So that's my perspective. I heard give peanut butter at 6 months now. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, that's what the experts are saying. And I tend to appreciate that kind of thinking, because I really do think there's something to it. That if you're avoiding something completely and then all of a sudden they get it for the first time when they're 5 or whatever they're recommending now, or we're recommending, there's no resistance. There's no relationship with that substance. And so it's not surprising that all of a sudden their systems revolt, if it is indeed the case of true allergy. So, and I tell you, I am so glad that rule about when to feed kids peanut butter wasn't around when I was growing up, because I love peanut butter. I don't know, maybe my mom was eating it when she was pregnant with me, but I love peanut butter so much. Tammy asked about oat milk brands. I can only speak to one that I know of off the top of my head, and that's Pacific. And Pacific tends to be organic. Or they use, like, in the case of, I think most of them are organic. So I do like Pacific brands, and that's the first oat milk I can think of. They have hazelnut, oat, they definitely have rice and almond and soy. So I like Pacific brands a lot, and I believe they're California based. So that's my thinking on milk. So thanks for pasturbating with me today, guys. It sounds so dirty. That sounds so dirty. Oh my goodness. Pasturbation. We can pasturbate, but let's not be obsessive. We can appreciate the past, and we can embrace it, and we can celebrate it. But let's not romanticize it to the degree that we lose perspective. In fact, one of the things I say at the end of a talk like this is, I'll read this little bit for you. It's from the 30-Day Vegan Challenge. Do you want me to read this little bit? I'll read this little bit because I'm going to end on this note. This is what I think about pasturbation. So I'm just going to read a little bit. Okay. Oat milk is very popular in Sweden, quite a few brands and flavors. Also oat yogurt and cream. Well, when I come to Sweden, I am definitely going to check that out. Thanks. Was it Miss Riza? Thank you for that. And Sweden is on my list as well. Any place that I haven't been to is on my list, except for 2 places. And it's pretty short. Hold on. Okay, you ready? Okay. Okay. Some contemporary food writers even charge vegans with turning their back on their evolutionary heritage, Michael Pollan, strangely perceiving Darwinian evolution as a moral system by which we should justify our actions. By eschewing meat, they say unabashedly, we're sacrificing a part of our identity. It seems to me that we have the ability and the responsibility to make moral and rational decisions, not abdicate our ethics to an amoral process, i.e. evolution. And yet, determined to dwell perpetually on this past, these same people even romanticize the life of the cavemen in order to rationalize our contemporary consumption of animals. Certainly there are lessons to learn from our human predecessors, but do we really want to use Neanderthals as the model for our ethics? Can't we do better than that? We often say that we want to do better than we did a generation ago, 2 generations ago. I presume we want to do better than we did tens or hundreds of thousands of years ago. That's the point of being human, isn't it? To learn from our past and make better, more healthful, more compassionate choices once we know better, especially once we have the ability and the opportunity to do so. And so I say, I'll leave that question to you if that's what you think it's all about. I do believe in progress. I do think that the temptation of people like the Michael Pollans of the world romanticize the past to the degree that they have to, it just becomes detrimental. And I think that's my problem is that, I would rather look forward than look back. Certainly there are things to gain and learn from the past, but I really think the idea is to move forward and make better decisions and better choices and more compassionate choices, especially once and since we do have the ability and the opportunity to do so. So that's all I have. And you can watch the rebroadcast if you haven't already, because obviously if you cut to this point, you've watched the whole thing. I should always mention the rebroadcast more in the beginning. But thank you, everybody, for watching. And you can still share this. You can share the rebroadcast. You can still share all your love via your hearts in the rebroadcast. And of course, this will go up on catch.me/joyfulvegan, so you can share it forever and ever and ever. And I'll put it up on YouTube as well. You are welcome, everybody. Well, thank you. I look forward to having a great day. You as well, Caro. And thanks for joining me from all the different places you are. I like this time of day. It works for me, and I think it works for a lot of different people around the world. Thank you. Thank you, Calamond. Thank you, Aspaman. I have trouble pronouncing your name. You have to tell me what you want me to call you, Aspa. Thank you. You're welcome, Jen. You're welcome, Human Gum. Thanks for coming again. Thanks for coming, and thanks to all the newbies. I hope you come back. And I hope all the veterans return as well. And I hope you're already following me on Periscope. And I will see you tomorrow for tomorrow's scope. I can't show you the cats, Rotodama, because Michko is all the way upstairs and Charlie is on my chair in my room, in my office. He booted me off my chair and he's now sleeping on my chair. Just really rude. He waits for me. Well, he was sitting on my lap, and then when I got up, I put him on the chair because that's where he wanted to go, and he doesn't leave. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. What I'm going to do now is say goodbye, and I'm going to go make a nice salad. And my husband's home. He's working from home today, so we're going to go have lunch together. Oh my God, yes. You saw the picture of Michko with the deer. That was so magical. As soon as the Periscope last night ended, I then saw some deer outside. So some people watched that one where it was getting dark and it was hard to see. And so I saw Atticus, and I showed Atticus, and he started kind of walking toward the front. And I went out the side on the other side to water and the sunset was beautiful. And I brought Michko out, and I can't even tell you what it was like to watch her see Atticus. And she's seen him before, and then go down to like meet him as if they were like long lost lovers and they hadn't seen each other in years. And he was just as interested, and he was so adamant about meeting her. And then after they touched noses, then there's, a lot of the hillside has deer paths cut into them. And so Michko just started walking on the deer path like she's a deer, and Atticus just started walking behind her like she's the leader of the deer and he's to follow. And then I started going down the hillside. I'm in bare feet to get her because it was going to get dark really soon. As I said, the sun was setting, and Atticus was right there, wasn't fazed by me at all. But it was so magical. And of course, luckily I had my camera with me. It's one problem with trying to break out of technology and try to separate myself from technology is if I don't have my phone, I don't have my camera. So I need to find my old digital camera or something and do that again, because sometimes I just need to shut the phone off, but I wouldn't have my camera. And I was so glad I had my camera. But I wish you saw Michiko leading Atticus down the deer path. It was so freaking cute. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to my Instagram account. You can follow me at Instagram at Joyful Vegan. And of course, it's on my Facebook page and my Twitter account as well, all at Joyful Vegan. And it was my cat Michiko meeting one of the deer on our property, and this particular deer is Atticus, and he knows me, and I know him, and I love him. And he was the one who was on the brink of what we thought was death, and we have brought him back. So I love him. Just turn my cellular option off. That's a really good idea. Yeah, I need to just do that. That's a brilliant idea. That's a great idea. Thank you. Really the best discipline for, like, the way that I'm the most disciplined when getting off my phone is like, yeah, shutting it off. But I think turning the cellular option off is a good idea. It's a good middle ground. Okay, so it's still raining out, which is really fabulous, which means we're going to have a cozy lunch inside. I will say hi to my husband. Someone just said that. And thanks, everybody. You can find me over at joyfulvegan.com. And for the animals, this is Colleen Patrick-Goudreau. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Bye. Bye, everybody. Goodbye. Goodbye. See you tomorrow, guys. I know you're always a little delayed. Bye. I'll give you... You can see it raining. It's probably hard to see the rain, but it's raining. Trust me. Okay, you know I can't close until the hearts stop. So you have to stop. It's too hard to close while you're like sending love. I can't just like stop. Thanks, everybody. Okay, slow it down. Thanks.